Okay. So anyhow, assignments you are okay, right? I did not record that somehow. Anyhow, the important part is going to start now. Fine. So the 3.7.4 is good. I was talking about the TensorFlow. TensorFlow is a package, and also it is a framework. It was developed by Google. Okay. They developed a TensorFlow framework in order to implement the deep learning algorithms. Okay. So deep learning is an advanced version of machine learning. You just think that way. Okay. Because they made significant breakthrough to machine learning algorithm called neural network, which is part of your machine learning algorithm, right? So they made a significant improvement uh, to that algorithm, neural network. And in the case of neural network, you have something called input layer, output layer. In between, you have something called hidden layer. Input, output, hidden layer. Okay. So when it comes to deep learning, they introduced more number of hidden layers between the input and output layer. Okay, more number of hidden layers between input and output layer. So why they introduce more number of layers? As you have more number of layers, you can perform more complex operations, arithmetic operations. The deep learning algorithms are CPU intensive processes. The deep learning algorithms are CPU intensive processes. Okay. Anyhow, we'll discuss in detail about the deep learning later. The TensorFlow package is helpful in terms of implementing the deep learning algorithm. Okay. And now we have a couple of APIs are available, especially Keras. We have something called Keras. Probably you can do some kind of Googling. You will get to know that. Okay, Keras. I will just type it here. There's something called Keras. Keras is an API, but even for TensorFlow itself, right, gained a lot of popularity. And Keras is a front end, kind of a front end. It's an API. You don't have to understand. You don't have to write too many lines of code to implement deep learning algorithm using TensorFlow. TensorFlow is a backend, so Keras is an API. API is an interface, right? So using Keras, you can implement all the deep learning algorithms which is available as part of the TensorFlow. So the advantage of Keras is you don't have to write too many lines of code. Okay, it is very developer friendly. So this is kind of front end. This is kind of a back end. Okay, but this TensorFlow package was developed by Google, and that is also one of the reason why Python became very popular. See, very well. We have something called SAS, right? SAS was very popular since early 1980s or so, right? 80s and 90s, the even 2000, right? SAS was very popular because using SAS you can perform statistical analysis, and you can implement machine learning algorithms. You can make a prediction. Everything we can do it with SAS. But SAS also, when it comes to huge volume of data, it was really doing a fantastic job. But after the emergence or the manifestation of the deep learning algorithms, SAS was not good when it comes to performing image recognition, object detection, right? All kind of advanced deep learning or computer vision related task. You can implement it, but it is not as robust or as accurate as the TensorFlow algorithm. But still, to sustain the momentum, SAS they say, right? Even with SAS, you can do text mining, sentiment analysis. Even you can implement deep learning algorithm. And still, they are using backend the TensorFlow only. Okay. So now customers, everyone who want to start, everyone started using Python only, because when you can perform the complex tasks in no time, and also when it you see, Python is a open source. You don't have to buy a license. It's a freeware. Only you can download it and install it. That's all. Okay. Here there is no licensing cost, nothing. And on top, you can implement machine learning algorithm, and you can implement the deep learning, computer vision related algorithms, NLP, natural language processing. Everything you can do it with Python in no time. Okay. So no time in the sense, don't ask me in laptop, can I process a complex, can I perform a complex image processing task? Obviously, you cannot do it. So that is the reason why now most of the deep learning algorithms, it requires GPU system. GPU. What is GPU? Graphical processing unit. Graphical processing unit. So in our laptop, we are all using CPU, right? The GPU is 100 times faster than our faster than our CPU. 100 times faster than our CPU. And what they did, Google, they developed something called tensor processing unit. Tensor processing unit 10 times faster than GPU. So NVIDIA, so there is a company called NVIDIA. They are the pioneer in this space in developing GPU processors. Okay, so GPU is 10 times faster than this one. So now you don't have to install Python also in your local laptop, but I would still suggest you to install it in your local system. We have something called, see, if you go to Google Colab, okay, you go here. Let's say you have, that's what one of my students, he told me, sir, I just have 4 GB RAM or 2 GB RAM. I told him, don't worry, even in your mobile phone, you can go to Google's, the cloud. There you can execute even the complex algorithms there, because you are using their resources. What do you mean by resources? The CPU, memory. On the cloud, whatever the CPU and memory that are available, all you need to just take your code and upload your data there, and you can execute it on their server. If you execute it on cloud, that means you are executing it on their server, right? So this is the one. Okay, so this is the Google Colab. I'll just redo it. Okay, and how to go to Colab. So on Google Cloud, they implemented the Jupyter Notebook. What is Jupyter Notebook? That is the one is used by most of the developers, especially the data scientists. They use the Jupyter Notebook as an editor, okay, as an IDE. That is where they write the program. So in the case of, look here I downloaded Anaconda. All I have to do is just go here, and even installation is very simple process. But you don't have to have the headache of installation, everything they installed already. The Jupyter, look here, the Jupyter Notebook, IPython Notebook. Right? The extension of the file is IPython Notebook, which means Jupyter Notebook. Okay, this is the editor. This is where you can write your Python program. Okay, everything is available. You don't have to install. You don't have to worry about the resource capacity of your desktop or laptop. If you want to run a complex deep learning algorithm, it requires a lot of GPUs. So you wouldn't believe, I did one. See, I took 10,000 images to to do the image classification. Okay, to give a demo to my past batch students. What I did, I used TensorFlow and Keras, and for the 10,000 images to perform classification, it took almost 1.5 days in my laptop. Okay, I just ran the script. It took a lot of time. Okay, but the same task, right, when I performed with Google Colab, it took less than 5 minutes. And you have an option to enable the GPU also, whether you want to use GPU or CPU also, right? You can do it, you can enable it. So by default it is CPU, and you can enable GPU also. I don't remember. I'll show you a little later. Okay. So this is what the Jupyter notebook. And for example, okay, in your desktop, after you download Anaconda, right? So what you need, just double click on it. It will take for a while. Keep press enter, but only one thing you need to keep in mind. I'll just show you. I want to. So look here. You need to click next, and I agree, and just me. Okay. Don't make any changes, right? Simply go by with the default settings and proceed with this. So in my case, you already installed it. Okay, you don't, in your case you don't make any changes. Okay, and click next, and here only one change what you need to is add Anaconda to my path environment variable. You need to check off this one. Okay, you need to enable this one. So though it says not recommended, right, still you need to enable it. If you do it, what will happen is you don't have to go to the environment variable, and you don't have to set the path. That headache and all is not required. Okay, simply add, though it says not recommended, you have to enable it. Okay, and click install. That's it. It will take probably 10 to 15 minutes, or sometimes it will take 20 minutes. If you have already Visual Studio installed in your system, right, it will not take more than 15 to 20 minutes. If you don't have Visual Studio also, it will prompt you to install Visual Studio. If you click OK, it will install Visual Studio everything. Okay, that's it, very simple one. But make sure that you are enabling this one. If you don't enable this one, what will happen is you have to go and see. If you type Python, what will happen is it will throw an error like unrecognized command, right? Like when we install any other normal software, to execute the specific software commands, right, you need to go to the specific software installation folder, and you need to find out the bin folder. There you have to execute it, right? So irrespective of the folder where you are currently, look here, I'm not in the installation folder of my Python, right? C uses admin. So here also, wherever I want, if I type Python, it should it should go to Python prompt. So for that, you need to specify the path variables, right? In the environment variable, you need to set the path. Okay, but if you enable this one, you don't have to go to environment settings. You don't have to add the variable. You don't have that headache, right? Most of them, they make a mistake and they uninstall it, and again they reinstall it, right? While uninstalling it, you need to make sure that all the files that got removed manually, right? Sometimes it automatically removes it. Sometimes it causes some problem. Best thing is enable this one. That's all. Enable it and click install. You don't have to worry. Okay, that's all. And then after once the installation is done, right, go to the command prompt, type Python. It will take you something like, in our case, 3.7.8, and then here you just use the print command. Print hello world. Press enter. This is a command prompt, right? So in the command prompt, if you type this and press enter, it's an interpreter, right? So print hello world, it prints this one. Okay, and if you want to perform any arithmetic operation, just do it. And import, we have packages. There are packages that are available. Import NumPy, import pandas. All these packages are getting installed as part of your installation process. Okay, so when you install Anaconda, it will install Python, everything. Look here, after installing Anaconda, I'll tell you this process, because people without programming background is also there in my thing, Anaconda prompt. Anaconda navigator is also there. You don't have to use Anaconda. Simply what you do, right, if you go and type Anaconda here, now let me do one thing. I'll just go to this one. See, Anaconda, if you expand this one, you will find Anaconda Navigator, Anaconda PowerShell prompt, and Jupyter Notebook, and Spider. Spider is also another IDE. This one got installed as part of my Anaconda installation itself. Okay, so uh, Spider you can use it, but in general we use Notebook, especially for data analysis or data science test, right? They use Jupyter Notebook only. I'll tell you why we use Jupyter Notebook, because Jupyter Notebook is interactive. It is interactive. What do you mean by interactive? When you execute a command, right? When you execute a command by sitting on the interpreter. So look here, I am sitting on the interpreter, right? Python interpreter, and I am just typed a command and I pressed enter. Hello world. So instead of doing this, see, you might be asking this one. In this case, I have only one command or oddly three commands or the right three instructions. Whether if I have to have multiple instructions or commands in my program, can this be useful? Right. In that case, what you do is you can use Spider, or even we can use Notepad itself. Test2.py, something, right? You can, but you need to use the extension name as .py. If you wanted to use Notepad as an editor, you can do it. Okay, for example, print welcome to the world of Python, and x equal to 10, y is equal to 20, print x plus y. So I'm going to save it. Alt Fs. One second. Alt F. Yes. And so directory test.py. So this file got created. If I want to view the content of this file in the command line test.py, you know the DOS command, right? Print x equal to 10, y equal to 10. So if you want to execute this file, Python, and followed by this, type test.py. Look here, this file got executed. If you have multiple lines of code, right, so then you can use Notepad. Instead of using Notepad, we use other editors, the editors like Spider, and the fancy editor is PyCharm. Even I like PyCharm. PyCharm is beautiful one. Okay, PyCharm, you can download PyCharm also. I'll tell you as we move further how to install PyCharm also. But Spider, you don't have to worry about it, right? When you install Anaconda, it installed both Jupyter Notebook as well as Spider. Okay, fine. So PyCharm we will see it later, right? So now I'll show you how to get into Notebook, Jupyter Notebook, how to use Jupyter Notebook locally. And supposing you think you want to execute a complex task which requires lot of CPUs or lot of GPUs, right? Then you can use Google Colab. It is a free thing. They give free access. In the past, I use Azure Cloud. Now what happened almost 4 months back. They removed all the IDs. Azure DevOps certification. DevOps also gaining a lot of popularity now. So there is a significant demand for DevOps resources. Azure Notebook. So Microsoft, the Azure, right? So you can go there. Azure, where is this? Notebooks.azure.com. I don't know if they give access now. I learn about all the notebooks. Anyhow, it is too early to discuss about this one also, right? Previous, and look here, Preview has ended. You can enjoy a powerful interview with the following products and services from Microsoft and GitHub. Notebooks in Visual Studio Code. Instruction how to get Visual Source Code. I think they introduced something. Yeah. So they look here. You saw right. They ended that one. Earlier it was available here. It's notebooks.azure.com. When you type it, you can get something like this. Now they ended it. Anyhow, don't worry. We will use Colab in case of any advanced deep learning algorithms or the complex algorithm. If you want to execute it, we will use Colab. Okay. So like how we did it, right? We can also and just click this icon. It will take for a while. This is called cell. Okay, each cell you can write more than one line of instruction. When you, if you want to execute it, you need to click this button. Hello world, I'm in Colab, right? It got executed. And if you wanted to add a new cell, click plus code. Okay, the plus sign. See, two cells got added. And here I want to perform something like I want to assign value to x equal to 5, and you can separate one statement with the other one is you can use semicolon. Okay, 6 print x plus y and click y. 11 6 plus. So this is how you can use it. For example, if you want to import NumPy, import this is a very fundamental package. The NumPy package is used for performing any numerical no error, right? So we don't have any error. It got imported. Okay, so the basic arithmetic operation we can do it with NumPy without using the NumPy package, like how we did, right? So without using NumPy stands for numerical Python. Without using this package also we can perform arithmetic operation. But if you use NumPy package, the numerical Python package, the performance will be much faster, right? NumPy, if you want to perform any complex arithmetic operation, or if the volume of the data is very high, if you want to perform any arithmetic operation, a huge volume of data, then you can use NumPy. NumPy is much faster than the standard package. See, these are all the standard packages, right? So x equal to 5, you don't require NumPy, numerical Python. You don't have to import this package. You know what is import, right? Import, like in Java, even in Python, if you want to import any packages, you have to use import command. Import NumPy, import pandas. Pandas is meant for this one. If you want to perform any slicing and dicing, and also if you want to perform SQL like operations, like joins. What are the joins are available? Equi-join, non-equi-join, and outer join, left outer, right outer join, semi-join. If you want to perform these type of joins, we can use pandas. Okay, so numerical Python, see what happened, initially they developed something called numerical Python. With the numerical Python, though the arithmetic operations, they can perform it in a much faster way. Still, if they want to perform SQL like operations, supposing you want to combine two different data sets or more than one data set, if you want to combine it, it takes a longer time. So in the case of NumPy, you have only arrays and matrices are available. So with arrays, you know, right, if you want to perform any exist kind of operation, right, you want to compare data set A with data set B, right? Or if you want to retrieve the values that are there common between the two data sets or more than two data sets, you want to combine it and you want to retrieve those data sets alone, right? So with array it is a bit challenging, and also time based time series related operations if you want to perform with NumPy or any operation with array, it is a bit complex one. What they did, they extended the functionality of NumPy by developing this package. In this package, they included features like this one. Okay, you can perform slicing and dicing, and SQL-like operations you can perform, joining the data sets, more than one data sets you can join it, right? So that's why we use these two packages. Okay, without numerical Python package also we can perform arithmetic operation, but when it comes to performance, NumPy is outnumbering the standard arithmetic operations. Okay, so since NumPy is good for huge volume of data and performance is faster, you can use NumPy accordingly. Okay, fine. These are the packages that are pre-installed as part of your Python installation. These two are installed. Supposing you want to import, for example, TensorFlow, right? I'll just show you. Import TensorFlow. I don't know if this one is available. Yeah, it's already available. Look here. It's a code completion facility. This is what I was about to tell. See, it is available. TensorFlow STF, right? Yeah, this package is readily available. You don't have to install it. Okay, now the question is, even in Python, we have a package called ggplot. See, module not found error. Let's see some packages, or you have developed a package, right? You have developed a package on your own, and you want to port your packages to your team members. Okay, so what you need to do is, what they have to do is just pip install the package. What is the package name? Is ggplot, right? ggplot. Look here, it is installing this pack. Pip, there is a utility called pip. Pip or successfully installed. Okay, the pip or conda. We have something alternative to pip is conda. Conda install ggplot. So now the question is, okay, using pip or conda, right? We can install new packages. So certain packages you need to install it explicitly. Okay. So in that case, you can either use pip or conda. Okay, but in this case, what I did, I just prefixed these two commands with question mark. What is question mark? Question mark is nothing but execute this command from the command line. Execute this command from the command line. What do you mean by command line? Look here. See, if I have to, in my local system, for example. So here in my local system install Jupyter Notebook, right? See here, this is my command prompt, DOS command prompt or Windows command prompt, pip install ggplot. If I give like this, it will take some time. Collecting ggplot, downloading, and it will install. Requirement already satisfied. That means I already installed it. So in your case, it will install like how it got installed here, right? So you successfully installed Brewer ggplot. These two things got installed. Right? If you want to install the same thing in your local files, in your local system, you need to pip install. If you want to install any new packages, you can use an utility called either pip or conda. Look here. So, but here in my local system, if I wanted to invoke the Jupyter Notebook, especially in 3.4, version 3.4, what I did, I just went to my Windows prompt, right? And here I just typed Jupyter Notebook. It started the Python kernel and it gives me this one, right? So the 127 point, this is my server name :port number. Right, and all right. So what you need to simply go here, type localhost instead of 127.00, right? Localhost :port number. If you give and type it, if you type this one and press enter, it will bring up the dashboard, Jupyter Notebook dashboard, like Colab, right? So in this case, local system, we have to install it manually. And like Colab, if any new package that needs to be installed, you can use pip. Is it clear? Am I confusing? Nothing, right? likewise in pip install, if any new package that you need to install it, right? You don't have to do it when it comes to Colab. Most of them are available except certain packages. You need to install it manually here. So now the question is, yeah, I was able to tell this one. Question mark. Why question mark? See, this is my local system Jupyter notebook. This is my cloud. Okay, this is my local system, right? Notebook. So on the right side, you will find something on new. Click Python 3 to open an editor, Jupyter notebook editor. Right, so what you do, you just go here, new, and click Python 3. Let us wait for some time. Oh, something went wrong. I don't need this one and all. It is going on. Yeah, creating new thing. Okay. Yeah, it opens a new editor. So all you need to do is just type the localhost colon 888 port number in your browser, and if you press enter, it will bring up the Jupyter notebook. Okay, and then if you want to create a new editor, click Python 3 from this new thing, and it will open a new editor, fresh editor. Here what you do is, so this is called cell. In this first cell, I just type welcome to my first notebook, and you have run button. Just if you press the run button, it will get executed, right? And if you want, so automatically when I executed this one, automatically a new cell got created. And if you want to create additional cells, you can create additional cells with the help of this one. And if you want to save this notebook, you can click save, or what you do is just double click on this one, and you can give the name, right? So let's day one, something like day one. I created 2 plus 2. Fine. The reason why I came, see this Jupyter notebook that is running in my local system. You are not supposed to close this one. Okay, Jupyter notebook is there, right? You are not supposed to close this one. You need to minimize this one because this is the Python kernel. If you close the kernel, that's all, you cannot execute this one. Okay, you need to type Python kernel here, and then Jupyter notebook, and press enter. It will start the kernel. You have to wait for some time until you find this one. Okay, you need to wait for some time. Once you see this one, just minimize this, go to the browser, and click right here. You need to type this URL with this port number. It will bring up the notebook, and here new, click Python 3. It will open the code editor, Jupyter new code Jupyter notebook. Here you can type each cell, right? You can type the commands. Each cell you can type more than one command also. Okay, so you can do it. So here, instead of doing like this, you remember I just typed pip install. Let's say I want to install a new package, pip install ggplot. Because the ggplot will not get installed when you do the installation. Okay, when you install Anaconda software, right, it will not install the ggplot package as part of the installation process. Then like NumPy and Pandas, ggplot package will not get installed. Okay, you need to install it explicitly. So for that, I can go to the command prompt and press enter. But we have the luxury to go to the command prompt and execute it, right? When it comes to live system, even if you are working in the customer's system, right, you might be using something called Putty. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Putty tool. Putty, they use something called Putty to access remotely to our customer's Linux system. Okay, they give us the IP address and the port number, and they enable us access. We have something called some VPN connection, all right, using which and also they give us the RSA token, using which you will connect to their Linux system, and then we perform installation, everything. But in that case, right, like Google Colab, you cannot see in this case. I have a luxury, go to my command prompt and type pip install. I can go to command prompt, I can, but Google Colab is something like our customers server, right? Here we cannot go to their command prompt, Linux command prompt, because of security and other reasons, right? So what you do is to execute this command on their Linux command prompt, you need to use exclamation. Exclamation is nothing but execute this command from the command line. So now the question is, okay, how do I see what is there in their Linux system? In Linux, there is a command called ls. In DOS, we have dir command, right? Use dir, you can see what all the files are there. But in Linux, we are using ls. ls is nothing but the list files. What are the files are there? You just show me sample underscore data, right? So this is how you can see this one, okay? And see, the ls command will go and get executed on the Linux command prompt. See here I gave dir, isn't it? See here I gave dir. So instead of doing this, what I can do is, even in my local system, I can give exclamatory sign and give that. It is equivalent to going to the command prompt and executing this one. It takes some time, right? So in the case of Linux, we need to use ls command instead of dir command. The question mark is to execute this command. We are telling the Jupyter notebook, hey, go to the command prompt and execute this one. That is what the exclamation says. Hope you understood, right? And also ls minus ltr, if you want to see this one, right, you can see with the directory structure also you can see with privilege everything. So root, the group name and username, and then this is the file name, sample underscore data is the file name, okay, file name. Oh no, it's a directory name, right? It starts with the D. Yeah, see, it starts with the D. And what you do is you can do something like sample underscore data also we can give it. If it is a directory name, cannot no such file or directory. Or what you can use something called cat. You'll see if cat is, if this file is a directory, right? Yeah, it says what you do is you can do cd sample underscore, it's a directory file, it's a folder name, okay? Go to that folder, right? And then I'm going to include another thing, and I don't know how familiar are you people with Linux file system. Okay, I should do it here itself, or you can use pipe symbol, okay, ls -ltr, go to that folder and display the thing. It is not doing anything, okay, I'll create a new file here. For example, we have some touch, right? So test.txt, ls test.txt, whether this file got created or not, we can check it here. Yeah, this file got created, but it will not have any for what you do is ideally use ls -ltr tree structure, okay? List the file with the tree structure. Look here, it's a read only, and root test.txt is 0 bytes because I just created a file, right, without any data. So hence it is 0 byte in it. I can use cat command to insert the data in it. That and all we will see it later. The Linux commands we will see it later, okay? The whole idea is, the whole idea of using exclamatory symbol is execute this command on the Linux command prompt, okay? That is what, being inside the Jupyter notebook, you can execute the command line related commands, okay? So now with this I was able to install the new package. Here also I installed, here I already installed my local file system, okay? Or else here what we will do is my local thing, right? Still it is taking longer time. I'll See, supposing you find something like star. Let's say you type some command and you press the run button. Just alongside this, if you find star, that means it is in progress. If you find this star for a longer time, that means it is hanging. Okay, go to this one, interrupt the kernel. My god, even this interrupt, you will find something like interrupting kernel here on the top right thing. It will take some time. Anyhow, let's not worry about, let's wait for some time. It will take for a while. Okay, so this is how you can start with your so you can use this Jupyter notebook code editor notebook, right? This is an IDE for you to write the Python programming. Okay, so the first one is the dashboard, but when it comes to cloud, you don't have to have the this one and all, right? The dashboard and all. Directly you see click code and plus code. If you click this one, it will create a cell for you. Here you can type the command, everything, and uploading the file, everything. We'll see it in the later session. To start with, let us work on the local system. Okay, the local system, how to execute the commands. It is still hanging. Something. Let me. Yeah, I'll close this one. We'll open a new editor. Sometimes it will be very vague. Don't worry, it will take some time. I need to start more than once, click more than once.
From Jupyter Notebook, what we need to click? That home page. From the home page, what we need to do?
Yeah, in the home page, what you do is just go on the right side. Can you see
Sorry?
something like new, right? Python 3.
Okay.
New Python 3. Okay, you just click this one. It will take some time. It will open the editor, new notebook. Okay, I think it is hanging in my system. Earlier it opened, right? It is not, because of some problem, the kernel problem. So if you face this kind of thing, right, simply close this one, the kernel, and go to command prompt. Once again, type Jupyter notebook. I would suggest all of you please try along with me. Okay, side by side you can start work with me. See, all I did was I just typed the Jupyter notebook in the command prompt, and it took me automatically to my Chrome. And here on the right side you will find new button and click Python 3. So now it is loading. You will find, so it should show something like loading. Okay, so now it opened a new notebook, blank or empty notebook. Here you can type the commands. Print. Okay, but in the older version of Python 2.5, you don't have to specify the parenthesis, right? Supposing you wrote all your let's say currently your production system has 2.5 version of Python, and if you take the same script and if you migrate to the newer environment which has Python 3.x, this command will give an error. The same script will run in your production system, but when you migrate the same code to the newer version of the Python, it will throw an error. So don't panic. So all you need to just give parenthesis. In 3.x you need to use parenthesis. Okay, without parenthesis it works very well in 2.5, but in 3.x, right? So these are some minor and silly changes, they made it, but there is no backward compatibility is available, right? So you can perform arithmetic operation, you can import any package. Suppose if I want to import TensorFlow, I don't know if TensorFlow STF, several times my hard disk got crashed. I bought new hard disk and installed it. So it should not throw an error. So now I executed this command by pressing this button run. So along with this I could see star. That means this is in progress. You have to wait. Yeah, it got executed. That means there is no issue with this package. Okay, this package got installed already. If you have an issue with the packages, right, supposing as I showed you here, when I imported ggplot earlier, you noticed that, right, module not found. You will get something called module not found error. That means that package is not there. You need to install it. How to install it? Pip install TensorFlow. Okay, so in my case it got installed already, hence I'm going to comment this one. How to specify the how to comment a statement? Use the hash. This is how you can comment a command so that it will not get executed. So Python is an interpreter. So what do you mean by interpreter? What is the difference between interpreter and compiler? As the name suggests, for example, in the case of Java, let's say you have hardly written 2 lines of code in Java, right? Even in that case, you need to compile this your JavaScript and then only you can run it. You have to first compile it and you need to run it. When it comes to interpreter, roughly speaking, you don't have to compile it explicitly. See, did I do any compilation here, right? Nothing. I just simply click run. It is running, right? It is in, right? I can execute it. I don't have to compile it. But still, behind the scene, it is happening. The compilation is happening. Otherwise, how my system will get to know, right, what command I have written here? Unless it translate my English like language into machine code, how will it know, right? So to convert this program, the script, into machine understanding code, like byte code, right? The system will not understand. It has to somehow convert our script into byte code. What is byte code? What is byte code? Any idea? Zeros and ones, right? Everything is zeros and
Machine
ones.
readable code, right?
What is that?
Machine readable code.
Machine readable code. Yeah, machine readable code. Machine readable code, right? Behind the scene, it takes care of the compilation, everything, right? So that's why we call Python as interpreter. We don't have to explicitly compile the program. Behind the scene, it does this one. We don't have to do it explicitly. So you might be asking me, or you might be arguing with me, saying that, hey, in the case of this one, Eclipse is the editor used by most of the Java developers, isn't it? I guess you guys also used Eclipse, right? So in the case of Eclipse, yeah, you have something called compile and run, right? So you just click that button, it will, behind the scene, it will compile and run it. But still, the compile is happening there and run is happening, but it is all not transparent when it comes to Python. Okay, it directly executes command. We don't have to. Supposing you write, let's say, you write a program. See, I showed you this one, right? Test.py. Sorry, not this one. Yeah, test.py. This is the one I showed you a demo, right? Notepad test.py. If I want to execute this file, right, the script file, all I have to just give Python test.py. That's it. It got executed. Even in the case of command prompt, right? Even in the case of command prompt here, and the operating system command prompt, you can give something like this, right? You don't have to compile your program. But when it comes to Java, you have to compile it first and then only you can run it, right? So that's the reason why we call Python as an interpreted programming language. And also it is interactive. Python is also called as interactive and interpreted. So interactive now, interpreted we understood. We don't have to compile the code explicitly. It takes care automatically. Interactive, what do you mean by interactive? So this is what interactive, it is very interactive, right? The interactive program is very much helpful, especially when you perform any data analysis. let's say you have the data, you import data that is available in Excel file or CSV file, you import the file in Jupyter Notebook using some command, and then you want to explore the data, right, to gain some insights, business insights. You want to explore the data by plotting the data in charts in different way. What is state wise, category wise sales, right? If you wanted to explore the data, right, so what you can do is, it should be interactive, right? You need to have the interactive way of doing it, right? So for example, you want to plot an histogram, or you want to plot bar chart, something like that, right? So in that case, it is very much helpful. Let me just show you the other one. Okay, and one more thing is, I will just share my GitHub link. See, some of my batchmates, right, in the past, they said, is there any other place wherein I can download your entire training program related script, right? So what I did for that purpose, you can also go to my website, download it, but the alternative way of doing is, go to GitHub and go to this folder. Sorry, the fantasy 200k, something like that. Okay, you just press enter, it will take you here, and then you will find something called repositories. Okay, just click 17 repositories are there, and if you scroll down, and what you can do is, you will find something like Python script, something like this here. Right, so you have the data set, everything is available in somewhere. IPython exception handling. One second, let me go to the Python itself. Just go to Python. It's a very interesting one, Python. Okay, very easy to learn also, Python, unlike other programming language, right? So the Python is very easy to learn. That is the reason why most of them, they found Python as an interesting one. Let me just use another thing. Retail amount spent data analysis.or. So like this is my OR program. Okay, OR and Python, everything will be there here. Okay, assignment solution. Yeah, so faculty bank. So if you want to perform any analysis, right, it is very much the interactive mode is very much helpful. That's what I was trying to say, right? Suppose you want to explore the data, retail data, you want to find out week on week sales, and you want to plot it, and right, and if you want to share the same script with your peers or other business development executives or stakeholders, simply you can save it. And even in the case of cloud, right, you have share option is available, file and save, and yeah, you can share it, right? Once you save it, you can send it as an email to your, send the script to your, through your email to your peers, so that when they open the file, something like this, let's say use something called churn analysis. Let me open this one. Not this one. So likewise, you can put your comments, titles, what is the objective of the project, everything, right? and then the packages. And look here they can let you know whatever the script that you executed it. When you share it with the user, right, along with the script you will find the output also. Okay, he executed this command, this is what he could see, right? In the array, the 0th position, the 0th index of x underscore train, he checked it, and as per him it shows this one, right? So you can see the output for each cell also when you share the script with your peers or business stakeholders, right? So that the business stakeholders, they can see the output in the form of charts and along with the commands and the business rules or business logic what you have used it. In case of anything wrong with the business logic, they can help you correct it, right? It saves a lot of time, right? It saves a lot. Otherwise, just imagine if you write 1,000 lines of script in a single file, and if you store it and if you execute it in the command line, like I showed you, right? Python space the file name. This file has 100,000 lines of code, and debugging is also a problem, right? Let's say once you execute it, it throws an error saying that line number 507 and 902 has some issues, right? Some errors, something like warning and error, right? Again, you need to open your code and you need to look at it in which line you are supposed to go, where it threw an error, right? But here, by executing the command chunk by chunk, you can fix the error, then and there, right? That is why the interactive programming is very much helpful. Look here, by looking at, this is my data set, I imported my data set. I just want to see all the columns here, top 2 rows in my data set. I can see this when I explore that at a high level, and I can see the charts also along with this. Along with the command, I can see the charts also, right? That is the reason why interactive mode is very helpful, especially Jupyter Notebook is very much helpful to interpret the output along with the script, right? With the chart, everything. Look here, this is the chart, correlation chart, right? You can see it here. So that even for testing people, it is very easier. Okay, which data set he used, what command used, what business logic he used it. Okay, why he is getting a chart, something like this, right? You can verify it. In case of any problem, you can figure it out immediately. And also as a developer, by writing the scripts chunk by chunk, any error comes up, you can fix it then and there, rather than writing 10,000 lines of code in a single file and executing it and then finding out where the issue happened, right? Chunk by chunk, by executing it, you can fix the error then and there. In case of any issues or any bugs, you can fix it then and there. And also it is very much helpful. The end user can see or the business stakeholders can see the output along with the code, right? You can justify them. So this is the logic I used, and this is the data set I used. This is what the output we are getting, and this is what the insight we can get it from this, right? It is very interactive. So Python is open source and it is very easy to learn compared to any other programming language. It is interpreted and interactive programming language, and also Python supports object-oriented programming language and functional programming language. Object-oriented programming language, right? So OOPS concept, right? Inheritance and what are the other things are there, right? A class, you can create a class, an abstract class, right? And inheritance is one of the important concept used in this one. And what are the other OOPS concepts? I've even worked in OOPS left and right.
Encapsulation.
Encapsulation, right? Encapsulation. What is encapsulation? Any idea?
Hiding the values.
Yeah, hiding the, right? So all OOPS concepts, right? Python supports object-oriented. You can use object-oriented programming, and also it supports functional programming. What is functional programming? You don't have to have knowledge in OOPS concepts, right? Without having knowledge in OOPS, you can write programs here, like plain English language, okay? In the case of pandas and all, right, you don't have to implement the OOPS concept. Directly you can import the file like how I did it here. Simply import the file and then using head function you can find out you can display the top 5 records, and you can perform any kind of cleaning, data cleaning. You can scrub the data, and you can perform data transformation based on the business logic, right? And also you can do encoding, all those things you can do it like this, right? So you can implement machine learning model.
All these tables are created through the code, is it?
Which table? These tables, right?
These
You're talking about.
graphs and tables you are showing right as output.
Yeah, it's all code. Look here. So this one got created because of the heat map, right? There is a functional heat map. So using, you see, I passed this as an argument, and it plotted this one. Yeah, so these charts are available with your script. See, when I execute this one, it plots the chart like this, okay? And so that when you share this script to others, they can see this one, right? The same script is available in my GitHub also, right? I will share the link to you all, later sometime, and you can download my script and you can view it. Only thing is, what you need to do is you need to download the data set and go to my script, and you need to specify your path, right? Let's say you downloaded this one from my GitHub folder into your laptop. So in your laptop, which path you stored this file, right? So you need to specify that path here, and then if you press this button run, it will get executed. So most of them, what they do, they download my script, they download my data set also. Everything is correct, but they download this data set in their download folder, and they fail to change this folder name, okay? So it will throw an error. So you need to specify your local laptop's path where this file you download, right? So that you will not have any error, you will not run into any issues, right? So yeah, so these tables are generated because of these commands, okay? These commands will generate this kind of output tables, everything. Yeah, so that's why the Jupyter notebook is very interactive, and also you can specify the comments like this, like heading, right? Heading and all, and you can specify. For example, I go here, demonstrate the arithmetic operators. And if you go here, instead of using code markdown, and if you use single hash here, right? If you press enter, it will be like it is a very nice one, the heading, okay? This cell, these cells are related to this one. Likewise, you can specify your analytics also. For example, state wise, category wise sales, right? And you can use pandas, perform group by, and using group by, right? Using combined with group by, you can perform some kind of aggregation, and then you can plot the chart here, okay? So right, so that when somebody looks at your code, okay, this chart is related to this one, this chart is related to this one, right? So you can put comments like this also, like here you go here, markdown, okay? And suppose if you double click here, you don't want the font size to be this big, use double hash, so that will be. If you know HTML tags very well, you can use HTML tags also here, okay? And simple thing is, yeah, use double hash, and the heading is, it's heading 2, heading 1, heading 2, right? Something like heading 2, and here we can use right, so let's say I'm using x comma y variable, 2 comma 3, print value of x and y. Here I can specify x comma y directly here. Yeah, x comma 3. So value of x and y is equivalent to, like this, you can say 2 comma 3. You can see comma also. I will show you the formatting a little later, okay? What do you understand from here? X comma y equal to 2 comma 3. So usually what we do is we assign the values, right? At least x equal to 2, y is equal to this. Another way of typically this is how we assign the values to variable, x comma y. This is how we assign the values, right? Execute. But in the case of Python, functional programming, right? You can assign multiple values in one go to a multiple variable. Okay, that is the beauty of x comma y comma z comma 5, and you can use z also here, right? 2 comma 3 comma 5. So what we discussed, Python is open source, it's a free where you can download it and install it. Anaconda Python distribution is the one widely used by most of them. Even in the production environment, they use Anaconda distribution only to install Python. Okay, and Python is interpreted language and it is interactive. It supports both the object oriented and functional programming. In the case of functional programming, you don't have to have the knowledge of object oriented concepts. Okay, and also Python is portable. What do you mean by portable? So once you store this program, in Windows, you can simply copy paste it in Linux or any other operating system, and all you need to just execute it. Right? It's a platform independent. It's platform independent, like Java, right? It is a platform independent. You don't have to make any changes to your code in order to execute it in various operating systems. It's platform independent, right? It is portable, and also Python is extensible, right? You can call Python from C language also, right? It is extensible, and also Python is that is also the reason, right? The Python, you are using Python, you can implement machine learning, deep learning, even computer vision related algorithms. We have something called OpenCV. OpenCV is a very popular package using which you can implement computer vision related tasks. Okay, you can perform computer vision related tasks using OpenCV. Like image recognition, everything, right? Everything you can do it. Object detection, everything you can do it with OpenCV. Everything is possible with Python, because in Python, right, they implemented many machine learning related packages, and also Python is called multi-purpose programming language. That is the beauty of Python programming language, right? So there is a gentleman called Guido Wassam, right? Guido Rassam. He is the one developed this Python project as an hobby project. Way back in 85 to 90, he developed Python program as a hobby project. So what has been developed as a hobby project, now it became a mainstream project. Everyone, they are using Python in their production live system itself, including Google. Right? Google, if you see, most of their machine learning, deep learning algorithm, right, they use Python only, but they developed packages like TensorFlow and other packages to implement deep learning algorithm, but they are using Python only. And Python is very easy to learn, and that is the reason why Python became the language of choice for data scientists and anybody. Okay, everybody started using Python, and it is a multi-purpose programming. You can develop a gaming software, gaming application, right? You can develop a program to control a robot, right? So let's say you have Android device and you want to develop, you can write a program to control your robot. You can use Python. Okay, you can develop a gaming software, and you can also develop the desktop applications. Okay, you have something called, I forgot the package name. Okay, different packages are available. Okay, for different purposes. For machine learning algorithm, we are going to look at the NumPy. We are going to use NumPy and Pandas, and for data visualization, we'll be using something called Seaborn. I just type it here. Import this one, matplotlib.pyplot as plt, and import Seaborn as SNS. These are the data visualization packages that are widely used. Okay, and what is as PLT? Import the package name. This is the main package name. Within the package is something like sub package. Okay, what is as PLT is something like alias, right? like people have alias. This is Satya, alias Saskan, right? So this is alias name. So that whenever you wanted to use these packages, right, you don't have to type the package name. Just specify the uh, alias name, right? You don't have to type the lengthy name of this one. Simply you type plt dot histogram, plt dot hist, something like that, okay, or bar plot, something like that, okay. You don't type, this is alias name as plt. So this is for data visualization. NumPy pandas is for arithmetic and SQL-like operations. If you want to perform, you can use it. And also we will be using various other packages like import, as I showed you here. Machine learning packages, right? A lot of machine learning packages. Here we will be using sklearn or something like neural network, crosswise, like a lot of packages are available. And here something called warnings package. Suppose you don't want to display the warnings right below this the cell, okay. When you execute this cell, it will execute some warnings, okay. Sometimes what will happen, if you have more lines of code, the warning will run for half a page and then it will display the chart. Okay? You don't want the warnings to be displayed. So what you do is, you have a package called warnings, right? Likewise, many packages are available. We'll be looking at the sklearn in depth, matplotlib, NumPy pandas. Apart from this, we have packages for web scraping. We'll be looking at this only. What is web scraping? Supposing I want to grab the HTML content, right, or the not the HTML content, the data from others website. For example, Amazon website, each product they display the images, along with that the price, all the details are there, right? If you want to take those data, I can use web scraping. You have something called Beautiful Soup, BS4. For example, yeah, I'll type it here. BS4, import BS4. Beautiful. BS4 stands for Beautiful Soup. And the 4 is some version, something like, okay, BS4, Beautiful Soup. And import RE. RE is regular expression. For NLTK, we have something called, we'll be looking at NLTK also. NLTK is one of the the widely used popular natural language toolkit. Natural language. See, even if you don't know the machine learning algorithm, if you know NLTK, right, the natural language processing, it is very a hot skill set. But you should be knowing machine learning also, coupled with the natural language processing. But natural language processing, this topic, this is itself a wide topic, okay. Here, we use the unstructured data like text data, like Twitter sentimental data, or Facebook data, right? Whatever Facebook, even Twitter, Facebook, right? And YouTube also. Now some APIs are available. You can connect there, take the user comments, and then you can process it, right? The user comments, whatever they put it will not be a structured one. It is a text data, right? It's a structured data. To process the structured data, we use something called NLTK package. This is a very popular package in Python. Most of the data scientists, they'll be using NLTK package. And along with NLTK package, we'll be using the deep learning related packages and algorithms, using which we perform advanced natural language processing, okay, which will be more accurate. When you use deep learning, the accuracy is far better. That doesn't mean you should use deep learning all the time, but if you use deep learning, you need to have a lot of data, right? Lot of data to train your algorithm. Fine. So what are the packages that we are going to look at? The basic package like NumPy, Pandas, and data visualization packages like this, and Beautiful Soup, this is called regular expression. This is for cleaning your text data. This is an awesome package, using which you can make a pattern search, right? You can make we'll discuss that later, okay. When we have a separate session for regular expression for this package, okay, how to perform uh, pattern based search, how to replace the data based on the pattern which we define it, right? So those things, for example, your customer has given you 4 PDF files and they want you to take, let's say, they are giving you 1,000 emails. They want you to extract the customer's the address alone from from the 1,000 emails. How can you do that? Let's say I give you 1,000 emails to you. It's unstructured data, right? Unstructured data, the emails, and they will give you the, let's say they are giving 1,000 emails. They want to extract all the all the customers address from those 1,000 emails. It's a bit challenging, right? So in that kind of situation we will be using some kind of pattern matching, right? So that and all possible with RE, so using which you can extract the commands based on certain patterns, right? Across all these documents you can extract this, the most of the cases in the signature they specify the address details and all, right? So you can take all the addresses in one go using a simple command in RE package, and use some NLTK. This is for web scraping, to grab the data from other website. Web scraping, see, nowadays most of the enterprises or customers, they have their own APIs. They give it to us. Using the API we can go and they expose their applications to the external world using the API, right? So using the API, what we do is we will be accessing the data. There are some cases we don't have APIs, right? So using web scraping, using beautiful soup, we go and grab the data from, it's kind of hacking, okay, others website. And we will also, we'll see what is Flask and all. Okay, Flask is an API, REST API, using which how to expose that machine learning model. Let's say you developed a machine learning model, how to expose our machine learning model to the outside world or the other models within your organization to get the data from it, right? So we use Flask as a REST API. So all these things we'll discuss one after another in the upcoming sessions, don't worry, okay? Likewise, lot of other packages also you will be learning it, okay, as part of this training program. But whatever packages you are going to learn it as part of this training program in Python is more relevant to data science. As I told you, Python is a multiple purpose programming language, right? It has n number of packages are available, right? And even you have some sys package, okay, sys if you want to perform any file IO or anything, right, you can use. So you are not going to learn how to develop a gaming application, hence we are not going to use Pygame. Use something called import Pygame. This is the model. I don't know, you need to see no model named Pygame. So if I want to install it, I can use pip install Pygame, or I can go to my operating system and execute it instead of doing it here, right? So you can go here directly. You can, if you are interested in developing a game, you can go and use that one. So the gaming applications related packages I'm not going to cover it. And also using Python you can develop web applications, okay? You can develop web applications, you can use you can develop GUI applications like billing applications, like in the case of retail front desk, they have the retail billing application, like those kind of GUIs. You can develop it, okay, using Python. We are not going to touch those packages. I'm not going to cover those packages. You are going to learn all the packages that are relevant to Python, relevant to data science, okay? See, Pygame, successfully install Pygame. So afterwards you need to import Pygame. So after installation you need to import it. But anyhow, I'm not going to cover gaming software and all. You can, using Python you can develop web application also, right? So we are not going to cover web applications and Pygame and other packages that are irrelevant to data science, okay? All the packages that are relevant to data science only I'm going to cover it. But in this batch I'm going to cover PyTorch also. We have something called PyTorch, using which also you can implement the deep learning related algorithms, okay? And even with the target, right, there are some projects we started using PyTorch also equally faster like TensorFlow. Okay, but most of the packages related to deep learning, computer vision, everything is available only in Python. That is the reason why Python, that is also the reason why Python became the language of choice by many of the enterprises, many of the developers, many of the data scientists. So now you understood, right? With Python, right, only the sky is the limit. You can do everything. Take for example, in the case of R programming language, SAS programming language. R is meant for statistical analysis. You can perform statistical analysis, simple arithmetic analysis, or you can perform you can implement machine learning, even deep learning also some extent. But using R programming language, you cannot develop a web application, you cannot develop a gaming software, and right, and also you cannot write any program to control a robot. Using Python, you can do everything. See, in the past, if you look at it, right, I still remember in 2005 and 6 when I was part of a pre-sales call with some customer, right, they were talking about Python. They developed a web application, everything. I thought, why the hell they are using Python? Why were they not using Java? Right? For those customers, right, they don't have to migrate to completely different environment. Already they have been using Python. Since these additional packages got matured, the machine learning and other packages, right? So they don't have to buy or install different softwares. Supposing, let's say a customer is using only R programming language. Okay, let's assume that way. And if they wanted to develop a web application, they have to install Java. Right, and again, or they have to install Python separately to develop a web application. But when you use Python, it supports everything, right? For web application, you can use Python. The maintenance overhead is not there. You don't have to recruit different people with different skill set, right? It is very easy because it has everything in it. So that is the reason why Python is used by many of the enterprises, be it a startup company or even a bigger company. Even Flipkart, they are using Python, and they are using Hadoop, Python, even Flipkart also. I spoke to few Flipkart guys during a seminar way back in 2019 or so. Okay, 2018 or so in Bangalore, there was a seminar we attended. I came to know from them, they are using Hadoop and they are using Python also for deep learning and everything. They are using it there. Anyhow, we will continue Python session tomorrow. Okay, what I will do is I will share the data for the assignments in a short way. Tomorrow, right, during the daytime, you can try it out, the assignments. Okay, there are just 2 or 3 assignments. It's very simple. When I did not bombard you with many assignments. And also we will take a look at the assignment 2 also, right, tomorrow before we start Python. Okay, anyhow, we discussed only we just scratched the surface of the Python part, right? I did not cover many things as part of Python. Anyhow, we will take a deep dive in Python tomorrow. But before that, assignment 2, we will take a look at it. So that you will not lose touch with this. And also, I will show you how to perform hypothesis testing using Python also, right? But anyhow, hypothesis testing also, right? After probably, when I complete at least the 50% of the Python, right? Afterwards, 50% of the Python, once I cover it, and if I give you a demo in hypothesis testing, it will be convenient for, right? You will be able to understand. But because if I say pandas, all the things, you will get confused. Let's go step by step, okay? In a very orderly manner, we will go, right? If I jump here and there, you will get confused. Initially, we will go in a very slow pace. and probably down the line we will have to increase the duration also. 2 hours is not sufficient. Okay, at least 2 hours 15 minutes we will spend it, right? If you think if it is too much, we'll do it. Any questions so far? And PyCharm also I'll cover it, don't worry. All the IDEs will cover, all the top IDEs will cover it. Okay, how to use IDE, sorry, how to use PyCharm. PyCharm is very interesting one. There also I'll give you a demo. Okay, don't worry.
Okay, Satya.
Any questions? Non-programmers, don't worry. Okay, we'll go in a slow pace. Okay, and then but you need to work hard. Okay, those of your freshers, right, you need to work hard. I would suggest you to go to YouTube, and we have something called Data Camp. Their videos are good when it comes to Python. Okay, you can watch their videos. It is very good and very easy to understand. So those of you, especially fresher, right, this is one way of fast tracking this one. See, I would suggest, right, Python is very easy to learn. Only the difficult part is understanding the machine learning concept, machine learning and deep learning, especially the mathematics part, right? It's bit most of them find it difficult. Even experienced people, they found it difficult. If you go to Python tutorial for data science, right, you can watch this video. See what is a list, all very simple one.
Hi, my name is Philip, and I'll be your
It,
host.
it doesn't require, it is not a
interface.
rocket science. Python, very easy to learn. Let's say if you are starting the programming, if you are completely new into programming, Python is the place where you can start because very easy to learn. Okay, use Data Camp, and you just go through on all these things. Okay, arrays, and importantly arrays and matrix are important concept. I will cover that also, don't worry. Okay, and the data visualization part also, it is available there. Okay, and lot of videos are, I will also cover it, all these things, don't worry. But side by side, right, to complement your skill set, you can watch this one also. Databases, how to access MySQL database, data from Python, everything. Okay, I have all the scripts that are in my GitHub. I will share that also right after the session. Fine. Fine. Since you don't have any questions, I'm going to wrap up the session now. Tomorrow we will continue with Python. Okay. Before that, we will complete the assignment 2 of hypothesis testing also. Okay. Fine.
Okay.
All right. Good night. Take care.